Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Tuesday the 9th of April. Apparently the world didn't end with a solar eclipse, so we're all here still. That's a good sign. Let's get on and look at these markets. Firstly, look at news. There's not a great deal of news coming out today. In fact, there's zilch. There may be some speakers. In fact, let me just have a flick onto here. It is the 9th today, isn't it? Yeah, so we do have some speakers, but there's nothing of any significance here in terms of news being released. And well, you saw the news. We saw yesterday's data coming out there. There was not any surprises there. So onwards and upwards, or downwards, or wherever we're going. Anyway, let's have a look. So starting off then, let's just make sure I've got the right chart up here. Would be a good place to be. There we go. So we've got a daily chart looking at the euro dollar first. But yesterday it did end up as a positive day in the end for the euro. And he's put a little pivot swing in there, looking sort of more bullish. Never really saw the reaction to the strong. Well, we did see a short-term reaction to the strong data, jobs data, but it seems to be overlooked, and we're now seeing JP Morgan suggest that interest rates will now be cut in July instead of June. Well, as I showed yesterday, that was less highly likely the way the data is showing at the moment anyway. Right, let's look at the currencies and the euro. As I say, it's we've seen some consolidation here. I mean, it will show clearer on the 60 minutes there around the highs again. Whether we'll see a continuation is another matter. It's really it had one little drive there yesterday afternoon, and that was that. It's sitting there, but it is sitting there positive. The euro at the moment, it's in between. If it breaks down and it comes back to its daily pivot, maybe it's worth watching to see if we get a bounce off that back for the R1. So a little pivot to R1 trade. We'll see what happens there. The pound, well, funny old price action here at 10 o'clock last night on the close. A gap down effectively, only to recover back to where it was. Let's just have a look at the bigger time frames here, and again, well, it's done a little pivot swing. It's still below the 50 in the monthly pivot. It's still looking to me erring on the bearish side where it's sitting. It's whether or not it can break out these highs here or roll back. Now the pivot arguably is not really being touched yet. So again, we could be looking at a move back towards that pivot, then a bounce, but alternatively a continuation. But I'd wait for a bounce before I looked at either of these on the long side. US dollar yen. Just bring this down a little here. So we're still knocking on the door. There's at some stage this has got to break these highs here, and then maybe Bank of Japan would take some action, but at the moment it's knocking on the door. Nothing's actually happening. They realise it. They probably realise that it's a waste of money whatever they do, and it may not be the right timing in terms of trying to get a correction on the yen. But either way, it's putting me off trading the yen at this stage. There's one or two pairs that might continue to do something, but for the main, it's not of interest to me. Aussie continued its little ride up there yesterday. Just looking through here, but again, it's just coming off a little bit at the moment. Sitting bang on its quarterly pivot here. It rode up there, and it's using that as a support level at this stage now. Again, we've got a daily pivot below. That could be all it needs is for a bit of support to bounce back up. It's a bit of a directionless market in a sense, in the short term anyway, and a bit of I think a lot of people are scratching their heads to see why things aren't moving as we might have expected. CAD yesterday gained something here, gained a little bit, still sitting around these prior highs where I was looking for a sort of potential buy opportunity yesterday. It has come back to its weekly pivot, so it's well worth watching. In fact, I'm going to move that little alarm down there now, and pop it on the top here and see if we get this bounce off of here. There's the potential breakthrough. Okay, that ties in nicely with the daily pivot there as well. So ideally I'd look to see a close above that line. Then in that case, I don't want to just see it pop up there. Then for the next bar to be coming running southbound. New Zealand dollar. I was looking for the breakdown of this yesterday on the break of these lows here, not happening. It's come back up again to the month, this one to the monthly pivot. Still looking at that. We'll leave that signal in there because I do like the bigger term trend here. But like the other markets, the pound, the euro, etc., and it's not far away from its previous highs here. It's actually into the double topping at this stage. And again, it's got an untouched daily pivot, which is a bit of a target. Now this one has actually hit its R1 probability there. The daily pivot generally drops down at that point. I wouldn't say this was in a major trend though. However, if at post 8 o'clock it turns, breaks the R1, there's a much better, higher probability that we'll see the R2 hit. Lots of ifs, but it's the way we've got to trade, isn't it? Dollar Swissy. Well, I'm on the long side of this. I took a long on this. It has come off a little bit here at the moment. It's sitting around its weekly pivot, I guess, still. It's tested its daily pivot sitting here. It's tested that again. It needs to really get a wiggle on. Now, well, I've left the stop down here, so the stop's out of the way. But I would like to see if it does get a wiggle on and break the highs here. Well, then I will start adjusting the stops a little. But until then, I'll leave it be. The original trend there, and I meant to mention this last night, is still upwards. It's very upwards. I mean, okay, it is a bit of a day trade stroke swing trade now, but it's still looking okay. There's nothing much changed there, aside from the very short term time frame it's pulled back. One thing I would say, when I take these trades, I wouldn't join them late. I don't like buying an upward market on the downside. I want it to be moving in the direction I want to be moving. I tend to leave these if I'm late. I know someone, I can't remember who joined it late now. Actually, yeah, I do know. But anyway, I don't like coming into them on the later side of things, purely on the basis of if they've already gone up quite a long way away and then pulled back, it's got a chance of rolling over. I'm not saying this won't continue to the upside, obviously, because if I didn't think it would, I would close out of it. But altogether, looks good for its R1 today. The R1's well above the previous levels and whatever else. I'm only looking for it to run back up to these previous highs. Anyway, we'll see what it does. Break of the pivot today, it'll probably be the end of it. Right, it's a Swissy Euro Yen. Continue to push up here. Really, it's just consolidation and a little push, consolidation, a little push. It's a lot of traders they get on the short side of this all of the time, and it's time and time again it's off to the races, and it's pushing up there. It's not one I would be looking to short for, that's for sure. Anyway, okay, I'll look through the rest of these in a short while in the trading room. Aside of that, let's just have a quick look for you on the price of gold. So gold continuing its shove up yet again yesterday. It seems like it's don't want to give up at the moment. The greed factor on gold's pushing up there, and well, it's certainly looking healthy at this stage. Let me just get rid of that. Thought I got rid of that yesterday. It's still there. Obviously not. There we go. Anyway, still pushing up. There will be traders coming in with this on shorts. Please don't short it. Right. Oil. Not that I'm in it. I'm not long on it. I'd like to be long. I would like to have been long on it. The oil price came, it was a little bit bitty, but generally starting to push up there. Still not, for me, giving me the sort of trades I want in an afternoon at my 2 o'clock spell. It's quite it did push off a bit yesterday, but I'm still quite wary of a lot of the movements on this at the moment. Maybe it will come back into being, but it was all right the other day, wasn't it? But that was late. Well late at 6 o'clock in the evening when it started pushing up there. So I've just not traded it recently. We'll see what happens. It will hopefully come back into play again. Certainly heading to me. For me, it's still heading largely to the upside there. Okay, S&Ps then. Well, yes, they didn't do too bad after all that. Little tiny bar there. Not really going. It's more consolidation than anything else. It's a bit one of these ugly old penalty looking price action on the 4 hourly that's not so clear on the actual shorter time here. Really, no one knows what to do here. I was talking about this yesterday. I would not look for the short side of this, and if you're wary about the long side, just look at the utilities and the large healthcare companies, etc. There in those sort of things, if you were trading in those sectors, they tend to hold on pretty well even when the market starts rolling over. So if it did start rolling over, you're quite protected, but they also gain the upside. Not necessarily as much upside, but they still gain the upside. So anyway, not that I'm suggesting you buy at this point either, but if you were unsure and what we're looking to add, Nasdaq, etc., all the same sort of market here. We're not seeing anything too dissimilar across those markets. The DAX, for those DAX traders, off a little bit at the moment. The 34 certainly seems to be providing the resistance point on the 4 hourlies there. I would be looking. It's not a clean flag or anything that sits on here. It would need to be breaking above this high here for the potential R1 move. Bigger picture, of course, is still very bullish. We can get sort of put off by the intermediate time frame here, which is bearish. It's put a lower high, and structurally it's broken the trend line, etc. But it could just be an ABC correction here before it continues in a bigger move. And if I was looking to be selling these equity markets, I want to see the weakness on the bigger time frames, not the shorter time frames. Right, anyway, DAX there needs to be above the highs here for the continuation for the long side anyway. And finally the FTSE. Well, yesterday ended up a little bit more positive, as with all the markets there. It's quite consolidated as where it's sitting. More of a squeezed price action kicking through there. Looking a bit soft. It's just opened here, looking a bit soft, but it's just on its pivot at the moment. Things could change there quite quickly. Right, but again, I would only look at the more positive side there. Quick look at Bitcoin then. Just looking where it went yesterday, it made quite a continuation recovery. It is in a bit of a funny old technical pattern where it sits at the moment. Hasn't quite taken out the highs here, but it's a bit of a sort of Gartley pattern kicking through here, but it's very close to being a spoiled Gartley pattern, but it is sitting there at the moment, which can see more correction again. Well, the weekly pivot sits there below, but largely, it's a market that's at the highs there. I wouldn't want to be shorting it, regardless of what market it is. And if anything, I'd be waiting for a bit of a reversal, maybe on the lower time frames, to get a continuation to the upside. Anyway, there we go. Quick look at Bitcoin. Right, that's it for me. I wish you a great day's trading, and I'll catch you tomorrow morning on YouTube. In the room, I'll catch you in a minute.